Worlds and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive emotes, icons, capsules, all that cool stuff. We've got a little bit of time here. You're not going to miss too much. So you can hop on over and you can get that one done just to get some free stuff. It's really cool. Okay, Zeus is standing on a ward, and there are a lot of bad guys in the brush.
Oh,
no, there's the charm that crashed down as well. It's a dead Gragas. It's going to take a little bit of time because he's relatively tanky, but still, that's first blood going over to Pays, and maybe that makes Faker's job a little bit harder.
That ward so crucial. Spotting Zeus out. I don't think Chovy's flash was necessary, but he committed it anyway to guarantee that pick. And Gen G start off game 3 with first blood.
And Chovy's flash doesn't even matter all that much because it's a Kali that he's laning against. Not a lot of kill threat in the first 5 levels. So he should be absolutely fine navigating this one. He's also, Chovy does kind of like the laning phase in general, as we're going to see standard lanes here for likely the first time.
Do have Pays now walking up. Tier from the start.
Oh, God.
Something you're going to be very happy about just in what it means for your spikes, because obviously it doesn't really give you any combat stats early. And in this lane, Lahens and Pays are just playing to clear the waves, don't be diveable, and get to your items. 2 items for Ezreal is always the main breakpoint. From that point on, he only gets stronger. And we do see both junglers starting on opposite sides of the map, although Canyon, I think, started his Raptors, then Path down, whereas Owner just doing a full topside clear and maybe looking to impact this bot side. And these trades are actually really valuable because it could set up for a possible dive towards the bot side of the map.
I will say, it's nice to see move away from the lane swap, only because while T1, I think, in the Swiss stage really had phenomenal execution on the lane swap, this, to me, is the bread and butter of Gumayusi and Keria. Their 2v2 laning prowess has been so incredible. And while I think there's Summer, of course, question marks always when it comes to T1 and Summer, at this World Championship, watching this bot lane 2 versus 2 has been a joy to watch. And you're seeing it right now. They know the strength and the advantage they have. They don't care about the tier. They know that with this Ashe Renata, they can bully this duo as much as they like.
Yeah, and I think that this is the biggest benefit of not having a lane swap this time around, and it's curious that Gen G didn't decide to opt into it themselves. Maybe just saying that now that we've got a kill on our Ezreal, we're going to be okay, but a tier doesn't really give you a whole lot of stats. Still, the fact that the wave is going to be pushing out and Pays can pick up a bunch of farm underneath the turret, that's going to be okay, as Faker only hit by the non-true damage part of the Orbit Deception after a couple of abilities go his way. Not going to be feeling too bad here as he's playing with his health bar into Chovy in this lane.
Now, the Ahri Akali matchup is pretty interesting because once you get to level 5, you can actually start winning out very easily on a lot of trades for the Akali, just because the bonus movement speed from the W makes it very easy to sidestep the E from coming out from the Ahri. The problem is, when you go for the Electrocute over the fleet footwork, it's very easy for Chovy to kind of chip away at your HP bar when you're trying to farm, and it means the Faker's in this awkward spot where he now needs the wave to bounce back into him, which is happening, fortunately, but it's this weird, awkward middle ground where he's now relying on his Doran shield to kind of mitigate and heal back up in this midterm little lane.
It's also, again, the grasp, and I do think that we have seen in the past players really get caught off guard by just the extra amount of health that can give you. Akali in particular plays around kill windows so well, but if your first couple of plays don't end up working out and you fall behind the curve, it can be really hard to play out. As obviously Canyon just wants to do exactly this, which is just farm, and even though they don't spot him directly, if they see his top side is down, we'll know that he's on the bot side of the map. But it's an early game Nocturne, not really expecting a lot, but that does mean that Keen is actually in a really awkward spot. His wave state not looking good, already chunked to half, and Owner is on the top side of the map.
And full information over to T1 as well as Canyon walks over that ward. They knew exactly, they had an idea of where he was, but then they get full confirmation. Now Canyon going to try and clear that one out, does get information of the ward he just walked over.
Yeah, read the movement.
Yeah, as a result, Keen actually just going to go for a recall right here, not wanting to risk too much. And despite the fact that Faker has sat on below half health for the majority of this lane, he has kept these minions really pushed towards Chovy. So it does give a lot of control over to T1.
Yeah, it's very awkward for him because Chovy's holding onto a monstrous freeze. The idea is Faker, you try and get those early pushes in, then you get the bounce back. But Chovy's like, no, I'm good. Now the wave will finally bounce back, but he ticks over to level 6. Ideally, Faker wants to back now so that the wave will freeze here. And now Chovy's back is a little bit awkward. He's going to try and interrupt Faker. It will be crucial if he does. Massive,
wow.
Massive,
he was on that ward, as we could see. I thought he was actually just a prophet, but no.
Oh, they've actually brought the bot lane over towards mid to catch this wave. Faker can now actually TP bot and go lane against Pays, who can still...
Oh, body slam going to miss. That could be a big deal here. They're evening out the health trades that have been going pretty consistently in Zeus' favor.
Chovy looking to TP back towards his lane. Will be able to do so. And the first objectives spawning now. We have the Grubs online. Drake's there as well. You can argue either team is very happy to just wait till level 6. You have a Vi composition on one end, a Nocturne on the other. It's just going to be a trade here. Does mean that this time Gen G not going to have the Jax with an unreasonable amount of Grubs. Even early trades here.
Certainly feels good for T1. This time it's going to be a trade, so it's not going to be the, the Grubs team picking up all of the dragons as well. Feeling a lot more even.
Drop secured, and I think both teams are quite happy with the current game state. Obviously, T1 are setting their sights on a top lane play right now. Keen level 6 has those resistances. No Ashe Arrow available yet.
Yeah, Lahan's looking to get himself into position. I think they had an idea that something was going down. Notably, Canyon not quite level 6 just yet. Doesn't have that paranoia up and available as T1 don't opt in for any sort of dive attempt. But Keen still wanting to get aggressive on Gumayushi, who does have to cleanse. And pushes him away. So just going to be able to settle for the Summoner spell and just move off.
Nicely as well. Gen G have moved Pays out of the bot lane matchup in towards mid, where he's much safer. That means that they can keep Chovy into the Faker matchup, where the Ahri can continue to bully out on the Akali. With level 6 coming through and level 7 being a crucial breakpoint for Akali, just because she's going to get her Q at level 4, which I think it's either about 80 energy or about 70, but it makes the Q rotations much more comfortable when it comes to trading in the laning phase.
Vision control here for T1. Do have Canyon, but he is backing, wanting to spend his earned gold from
Ashe
those
Arrow.
4 players.
Oh god, okay, the arrow is going to connect. The counter-strike wears off, but there's a cease and desist! And he can't flash leap strike out of that one, and even though he had the Grandmaster's might, he's still going down. That is going to be a kill going over, equaling things out for T1.
A classic T1 trap springs on Keen. Get a kill onto Vi, and also get the flash out of Keen.
I love that you called it a classic, because it truly is that idea that T1 makes it look like they've gone back to base, but they stay on the map a little bit longer to catch you pushing that wave out, and it works to perfection. They're able to equalize the kills, and T1 find their first of the game.
And I love this. I feel like it harkens back to something that Chovy was talking about in the tease earlier on. The fact that, Faker was known so much for these mind games that he plays. I think it's all of T1 that does those mind games now. It used to be maybe a little bit too much with excessive Barons being started every single game. Becomes less of a mind game and more of a, you do this every game.
A bad habit,
Yeah, kind of. But they are always just trying to push these advantages, trying to find opportunities where their opponents don't have enough information to be able to do what they want. So really nicely done here from T1 to try and claw back a bit of control of this game. But right now, plate should be going over to Chovy here, as Guma not going to be too worried. Canyon, level 7.
Again, it's a relatively slow early game. Kind of what we've come to expect from these two teams as they prioritize farm, but also it just goes to show how difficult it is to kill these players. Like, there's a reason why Gumayushi went deathless for so long, and he still only got a single death to his name, even though Gen G absolutely
definable
stomped.
KDA.
Yes, it is.
Oh, you love that.
And it's a situation where both teams just play the map very well. They're constantly fishing for opportunities. They're playing for these early plates. But it's the Grubs now become the next big point of contention. A minute away. Both junglers already setting up some vision around the top side of the map. Keen, I imagine he wants to get a quick base in before the objective spawns, but that could be a window for Guma to already then push out mid and then set up on the top side river.
As we get into these fights, on one hand, how is Gen G going to be able to absorb the amount of backline threat that's there? Because T1 can split up a fight very easily with the Greg Assault, and obviously it has Owner
to start
him out.
Going to come on through here as Zes is looking to take the fight to Keen. Does find some nice body slams. There's the slowdown as well. Leap strike just to try and escape, and you can see Canyon. Oh, he was looking for a potential angle as Keen able to sidestep, but that does buy some space. Still, Owner not going to be committing because they didn't know exactly where Canyon was. That could have been a follow-up.
I'm actually very surprised. Keen had no flash, and Owner with ulti was in range. I think he could have committed, but I guess because Keen hadn't used his E yet, they were hesitant to really fully commit to the play. Regardless, the damage was done. Zeus has already gone back to base. He's now back out onto the map before Keen has had an opportunity to, but Keen's TP is available. Are they going to contest this?
Just have to say, I think 6 grubs is going to be pretty valuable
Oh,
for
that's a big
T1.
TP.
Yeah, the teleport flank angle is coming in here. Keen, good position to start this one off. He's just beelining right in there. Paranoia comes down. They do throw out the ulti. Carrier trying to keep them at bay, and oh no! There goes Lehens, and now Faker is caught onto Keen, lands the shuriken, and he's going to wait for the leap strike. There's the max range Q, and that's Faker's Akalia Worlds, ladies and gentlemen.
And that is Faker coming in huge, but it's the team response from T1 that's the biggest thing here. Chovy couldn't join that fight. I think Gen G was expecting them to back off when the Nocturnals came through, but T1 said no, we can take it, and they take a big lead here in game number 3.
We talked about how this composition is very much true to the style of T1, and their ability to take these early skirmishes wasn't there in game 2, but you can see how prepared they were. Owner and Carrier were the focus at the start of the fight. Carrier, though, has the passive to be able to reborn, and then, of course, also has the ultimate available too. So even though they're getting collapsed on by every single side, the TP comes in, a nice flash comes out. Carrier doesn't care that he's getting focused on the Gragas then arrives, and crucially, as you said, Chovy can't join the fight.
Yeah, and Keen and Lehens spent most of that fight fighting each other because of that hostile takeover that came in. Faker, gorgeous on the 5-point strike there. You see T1 with Reckless in the back. Feeling pretty happy about this one. And Helper and Mata getting more and more stressed as this game goes on. Still, a lot of game left to play here. We are tied up in this series. We'll see whether Gen G can claw their way back to an even game state after that big lead has been acquired. About 2.5K. Now the lead for T1.
Pace has got to have to do a lot of heavy lifting. A lot of the gold for Gen G is on him, but into a Fed, Akali, and Owner also getting bigger and bigger. They're looking to punish Keen. Again, this Jax not having a great time. 4 men at the ready.
All right, Canyon does have that Paranoia up and available. They know exactly where he is. This is a big gamble if Gen G do decide to go for it. Once again, Chovy is very far away, but this time has the teleport up and available. Nice little stun to come through there as Keen now with the Counter-Strike on cooldown. They're trying to deal with these waves, but another one conga lining in. This War of Attrition looks to just be going in T1's favor, especially with all those grubs, the Void Mites, and everything like that. Gen G just going to back away.
Gen G seeding more, and T1 no, like we don't have to dive this, we can just poke them down. The only way with the range that Gen G have that they can never really push back is if they actually hard commit. But because of the vision, T1 knows everyone is in the area. Chovy was showing on top wave, and they weren't worried about a possible collapse.
The timing was fantastic as well. T1 had gotten a deep push into top side, which meant that Chovy went to go and answer. Bear in mind that he's a large part of Gen G's wave clear, so while he's present top, it gives T1 the ability to 4-stack bot. They then keep Zeus in mid, he catches the wave there, and they don't really lose anything. Sure, Zeus lost like half a wave in the top side of the map, and crucially, Chovy does have an experience advantage over Faker, but he should be able to claw that back as long as he starts matching in the side lane. He's got his fully completed rocket belt, which means that he's now going to be a much more of a threat in the 1v1s.
It's telling that the Ahri Nocturne Jax composition doesn't want to fight for Herald. And when you look at these two compositions, it does really feel extremely volatile. Because they are both so short range, you really, once you find yourself in a deficit, have to be extremely clean with your fight selection. As this bot lane turret will go, but the Herald might be dropped in mid. There it is.
Yep, that's going to be even more money going over to T1. They're happy to trade these turrets because this is so much more map control, as Canyon's doing his very best to try and clear things out. Dustbringer should be able to help, as there's the charge, and this turret's not going to be long for the world. Oh my god, the damage! The arrow's going to connect, and Lance trying to crash his way out. She says no! He has his bow primed, and it's another... Oh, never mind, not another charge. That's a smite coming through. Oh. Maybe it was a bait, sees an assist, and it's a double kill! He's able to get the arcane shift, but just barely clipped by the hostile takeover. And Gen G cannot do anything this game.
I mean, it's just a beatdown from T1. If game 2 is...
The TP! Oh god, okay, there's going to be 5 people towards this top side of the map as Pay's looking to try and get on in there. Another cast. Keen is just being thrown around by it like a ragdoll, and it's another kill for Gumayushi as a result. Gen G not able to do anything. Faker just utilizing the second portion of his ultimate because he can, and it's all of a sudden a 6,000 gold lead.
It's just a relentless barrage of punch after punch, and T1 are not letting up. They use the Herald mid. Lehends with a slight overstep gets collapsed on. The burst damage from Ona and Kuma mean that he drops first. And then look at this play. Canyon thinks that he can punish Carrier, but the way in which Ona turns this around, connects the Q, the ulti to follow, the Ashe passive is stacked, and they're able to get a double for Kuma. And what's crazy is they didn't even slow down there, because Faker was pushing out the top wave. They turn to top, they get that objective as well. They get another kill.
It's gone from bad to worse for Gen G in this one, but T1 really showing that this bounce back was real. And coming into this series, they'd only played on blue side one time. This is the third time they've been on blue side this whole Worlds, which is kind of crazy to me because they do love this side of the map. And they are demonstrating to us that in this series, it is not going to be any different. And hope, like what I'm trying to get to here is that we might have 5 games, and that'd be super cool.
T1, when they are playing a comp that feels like it fits them versus the T1 that is on something like we saw last game, is night and day.
I mean, there is like a perfect example for this. We have the stats for Keen on Jax in the last game. If you compare that to what he's doing now in this game, it is absolutely night and day. And Zeus on this Gragas in comparison to the Maokai is incredible. Speaking of which, he's going to get tagged by that arrow. Still, there was no one there to follow up, so he's just going to be denied a turret take. That's going to be down very, very low, but still not going to be the money going over to Gen G.
Look how scared they have to play as well, and the only saving grace for Gen G, which by itself is not enough, is that they do have 2 dragons. The problem is you're playing into T1, and we all know that as soon as the Baron is online, they're going to just start pulling it consistently. This Drake, obviously Gen G, never going to contest, but I don't think Gen G is ever going to give, or a T1 rather, is ever going to give Gen G the opportunity to get to the point where these gold leads matters less, right? When you have the 2 items on pace, when Chovy can get to a next item, as oh boy.
Yeah, it's going to continue not being very possible to be able to make those advantages happen, and if Faker gets into the Shroud, Zay's going to follow up the kill, and now Faker is looking to try and get in there for more. Dashing after Canyon and Keen here. It is just Faker at the moment, but now you can see they make their way in. The paranoia comes down. Decent little utilization of the Counter-Strike, but Faker's going to get another kill. Hostile takeover means Keen is dead at the same time, and Pay's almost hit by that handshake. It could have been worse, and it's still a disaster.
No mercy will be shown to their domestic rivals as T1 just run through Gen G once more. There is no Baron for them to get. 18 minutes in, and they are slaughtering Gen G.
And Gen G, the only reason why Baron isn't taken is because we're 18 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's 9-1, 6.5K gold lead here. And Gen G, they can't even get near the waves.
Game 2 was systematic dissection from Gen G. They controlled the map, they were patient, and T1 were suffocated. But in this game, T1 are just brawling.
It's a sledgehammer.
It is a beatdown. And sure, a bit of anti-synergy there as this knocks Lehends out of the way of Faker's E. He flashes to try and cancel the back, doesn't quite get it in time, but he says, guys, I'm not letting my ulti be wasted. You better collapse here. Here comes Ona, and then the follow-up comes through.
T1 from these winning positions are always going to be looking for more and more aggressive side lane punishes. And Gen G, not respecting pace, just has to watch his teammates die. Nothing that he can do there.
And the travel on the Shuriken backflip there as well from Faker. This guy, when he plays Akali at Worlds, it's just a beauty to watch as we're straight into it once again. Magnus Storm going to come down. This could be a pick as Carrier. Actually more tanky than we might have expected. He gets bailed out as well as Faker gets another one. Make it two as Ona is in on the action still. He's going to go down. The cast just to remove Pays, and Gumayushi is on a rampage. Keen is on the floor, and T1 are looking to shut out this game.
Carrier doesn't even die, gets the full value from the bailout. The TP comes in, and they're not gonna relent. Chovy and Pace just, again, have to watch their teammates fall one after another, after another.
T1 is just crushing Gen G with their wallets right now. Gen G admirably tried to find the pick, but you said it yourself, Atlas, Carrier way tankier than they were expecting.
Yeah.
And while they expected to one-shot Carrier, he bought enough time to allow T1 to collapse and turn it around. Now, the Baron is on the Rift. Another bad fight for Gen G will result in that objective falling. And you can see the vision coming through from the hands. He chopped 3 wards in a nice little triangle, I guess, to just try and make sure that they have some semblance of information.
Yeah, maybe something won't get swept.
With how deep in they are, like even a good fight might mean Baron is gone, but maybe you get like a bounty or 2. Things are looking dire, and unlike some of the previous games, the ranged wave clear is really lackluster when it comes to these Baron minions.
Oh, handshake going to connect there. Not a lot of follow-up onto Lehens as they didn't have a lot of information. Red buff is the prize that they're looking for, but it's going to get reset, and it looks like Owner should be able to take control of it. Into the Shroud goes Faker's now Paranoia. They think they might have them where they want them. As over the wall goes Chovy. He's got the flank angle, and they take down Guma to start off the fight, but it has to be paid for by Keen. Now a 4 versus 4 as T1 look to rally back into position. Can they win the fight without Guma is the question. He's so much of their consistent damage. Is now Chovy dancing around, not able to find too much more, and T1 back away.
You're completely right, Atlas. Losing Guma is a lot of the damage gone, so T1 have to be a lot more careful. Faker had his ultimate available, but they chose not to take the fight any longer. A crucial flank from Chovy. He's been largely invisible in this game, quietly farming on the side, but you look at his itemization, he is on I mean, he's ahead of Faker in terms of itemization. So there are still avenues for Gen.G to turn this around, but they need to find more picks like this.
A very deep TP starts this off, and it's hard to respond for T1 because they don't have the vision. The Nocturne denies them so much, but this is where the wallets come through. Even with the carry being taken out immediately, Gen.G don't really have an opportunity to chase further, because if they get another kill there onto maybe Faker, you turn it into a Baron, the game might be playable. Instead, it's a moment of respite, but T1 still have a very tight clutch on this game.
Yeah, Faker actually looking for Chovy here as he gets into the Shroud. The rest of T1 now moving up. The arrow not going to connect. As Gen.G are now looking to back away. Now it's Zeus' turn to start a bit of an engage with the body slam. And this push and pull, Gen.G putting that phalanx back together. All about this Baron right now. No one really being able to get too much ground.
Crucially, the Dragon is completely exposed. The bot wave has been pushed in by T1. Faker commits his ultimate to try and force something out from Chovy, but he holds his nerve, doesn't get dissuaded, still has his ulti available, but the problem is all of Gen.G was shepherded to the top side of the map, leaving the mid lane exposed. T1 get the objective, and now they can turn to the Dragon.
True Shot Barrage is going to spot that that's exactly what T1 are intending. Only going to start that one up, but you can see Keen so far away from this on that bottom side of the map, and it's because the map is so incredibly wide and dark that it's very difficult for Gen.G to get down there, as Lehens trying to set a trap here for anyone who unwittingly moves towards this top side. The Drake will just be taken here, evening out that count 2 for 2, but next one going to be very, very scary because a 4 Drake Hextech Soul sounds unbeatable. Shattering Strike going to get a fair bit of value here, but Lehens still in a whole lot of trouble as Faker looking for them. Still dashing forward as the Paranoia does come down. The stun is gorgeous. The execution is perfect. And now Chovy looking to try and get out of there with that Spirit Rush. And T1, they play it slow. They accept that they're going to take that pick, and they're looking for more now as far as control of this map.
You got to remember that T1 just took a Dragon. They need to get the resets through. Crucially in all of this, while the trap was turned on its head, notice that Chovy has a 2-level lead over Faker. He has been over-grouping, and he has been denied a lot of farm. Even that top wave just now, he conceded over to Zeus to make sure that he was getting the resources. And while there are advantages across the board, Chovy becomes the sole win condition for Gen.G. If he's able to find those picks, if he can find an opportunity, then there is an avenue back into this game for Gen.G.
And while the Baron damage for T1 is pretty solid, right? You have Vi passive, you have Gumayushi who will shred through it fairly quickly. It's so hard to deny Nocturne access to the pit. True. And we saw T1 themselves show that a single Baron steal can be enough to turn a game on its head. And T1, I imagine, is going to be looking, unless they get a really good Baron opportunity, just start stacking these Drakes, because the Baron actually does a ton of damage, even as we get this late into the game. You gotta have to really respect it. Not really the same for the Dragons, but that, even if you end up going for that, as dangerous as a 4 Drake Hextech Soul is, that's 8.5 minutes from now. And at that point, the gold lead isn't gonna be quite as huge. So I think T1, they're gonna look for a pick onto someone, turn that into Baron, and truly break the back of Gen.G.
Well, Chovy hasn't been back to base in what feels like a decent amount of time, because he's been sitting on exactly these items for the last, what feels like 7 minutes or something like that. But now Gen.G are poised. They're in their jungle, understanding that T1 do want to look for this Baron. They do have control vision of the area. They can get over these walls pretty comfortably. Azona going to dive into the back of the pit, take down that ward, and now T1 are going to start this one up. Paranoia can get Canyon into that pit anytime he wants, but they do need to get vision of it. They find that vision right now, and T1 immediately back away. The amount of respect being shown this game is incredibly high. T1 not wanting to give an inch.
They can just keep doing this, though. Keep forcing cooldowns. Eventually, Gen.G is going to run out of wards, run out of scryers, and they are going to have to face check.
They don't have the blue trinket on Pays. I know it looks like that on the bottom of your screen, but it is unavailable. It's the only one on their side.
There you go. Ezreal, just to check.
Yep, that T1 are playing with the pressure that they have well, forcing Gen.G into this uncomfortable position. Resets have come through from T1. Vision replenished now for Carrier as he makes his way back out onto the map. Faker gonna go and catch the bot wave as Chofi gets ever closer to level 16.
Only picks up a needlessly large rod, so maybe it hadn't been as long as I thought. The intensity of the game might be attributing to that one.
It's a surprisingly tense game, considering the gold deficits that Gen.G find themselves in. And I really do think it's because you just keep looking at Chovy. You see how strong he is on this Ahri, and you have to respect it. T1, though, doing what they've done all game. They move into Gen.G's jungle and say, by the way, this belongs to us. Please vacate the premises as we take all of your jungle camps.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is the slowly but surely drawing out the advantage, right? This is the safe way to win the game. T1 have been known to take some liberties as far as advantages are concerned.
Oh, yeah.
And this time around, not necessarily doing so as much. But what it's doing is giving Pays time to get farm, giving Chovy time to get more levels and farm himself. And so maybe when Pays has 3 items, Chovy has 3 items, that could be a time where a fight can be better here for Gen.G. But I still think that T1 have a lot of great tools in these team fights later on. Zeus on his Gragas has made magic happen. T1 and on his Akali needs no introduction. And Gumayusi on this champion that, if given the space, can really lose control. I mean, I think that this is a recipe for success for T1 unless Gen.G does something miraculous.
I love that you said T1 on Akali as opposed to Faker on Akali, which actually
it's synonymous, right?
It's synonymous. It's perfect. And the level 60 now hit, as you pointed out, Vadi Chova's getting those 3 items hit. And it's really weird because I do feel like T1 was absolutely demolishing this game. I still think they are highly favored in this game. They're going to get the soul point, and I don't think Gen.G really has anything that they can do about that. But there's got to be a point where the inhibs have to start falling, or the Baron has to be threatened as the check comes through. Yep. Obviously quite early,
but
not really going to spot anything.
Those 2 dragons were so valuable because it kind of just bought them time. They can choose to concede this objective as well. The top wave being pushed in, Gen.G playing the side lanes methodically. They're not over-forcing their hand. And what felt like a beatdown earlier, it felt like that we were going round for round in a boxing match, and T1 was just generating point after point after point. But now we're kind of in this back and forth. A lot of dodging's been happening, and Gen.G have been able to stall out enough where it feels like their stamina has been regained, and a single good punch from them could be enough to swing the whole game.
Especially now that 3rd item does come through here for Pays. He's feeling a whole lot better in this game right now. And on his Ezreal, we know that Ezreal can do some pretty ridiculous things as the game goes on, thanks to Elk for letting us know. Pays is no stranger to it. This was, in fact, one of his first mains that we ever saw. Him in Challenger is something that Chronicle will not shut up about.
Well, I was going to talk about it, actually, but thank you for being
That's good. That helps. That goes with the vibe.
Real smart.
Well, no, I don't have to.
I feel like you've cast with him before.
Yeah, no, I've seen him around.
Every now and then.
He looks like an imposter. He looks like Chronicler from back in the LCK, but he's got this mustache, so it can't be him.
As T1 desperately tries to catch someone of Gen.G off guard. For T1, though, the guarantee of the next Drake setup is amazing because Gen.G has only 2 Drakes, so they can very happily give that up. Whereas Gen.G 100% is going to have to play towards that Soul. I know that in theory you can do the, okay, you get Soul, we get Baron, but it's Hextech Soul. We saw in the previous game how hard the game becomes to play out, and Guma's volleys alone are going to be an absolute nuisance if you're trying to play, particularly if you're trying to play very far forward, very aggressively. The slow makes it so hard. Gen.G still setting up these traps, but it's so easy for T1 to check.
Yeah, Hawkshot is a pretty powerful ability. True Shot Barrage not going to find any joy here as Faker on a flank angle taking control of the mid lane, and you've got the split push and Gragas, that nimble large man moving in the bottom lane, trying to put pressure on Gen.G.
I don't know if you guys ever get this, but I have this weird feeling that
Oh, yeah.
Chovy's going to do something really crazy.
Like in your waters?
Owner.
Oh yeah, Owner was thinking about it. The arrow is going to go wide, but still Spirit Rush has to be invested as Pays gets caught by Handshake, and now over the wall they go, but Owner might be going a little bit too far. You've got Zayas coming in though, just trying to be the hero. And speaking of heroes, Faker finds Pays, but not enough damage. Lahens, the first to go down in the exchange, and now Gen.G are scattered. Pays is dead, and Zayas says, you cannot take this belly. It's going to be Canyon that goes down next, and T1 will take down this inhibitor turret. It took a little while, but I think they're just going to move through and win Game 3.
And all that tension deflates as the turn around is found. T1 not going to let Gen.G claw their way back in this game. Canyon tries to flash just to clear the wave.
Yeah, King desperately trying to hold him, but he cannot, and now it's Chovy left on his lonesome. He's going to need to be that hero as these minions are going to now join these Nexus turrets. Lahens just trying to buy some time, and he knows that this game is over. Chovy just trying to get back to his fountain, goes golden alongside Faker, as the Nexus is not going to go down. The perfect execution of T1 in this game, exemplified by their mid laner on the fountain of Gen.G, and they'll move to match point.
I just love that Zayas ended the fight with a beautiful bomba and the Gragas ultimate to set up on the Keen. Just a fantastic team fight. But I mean, gentlemen, that game was tense, but we got to go to a break, so make sure you don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a bit.
हेलो हेलो, अब मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है गाइस आप सब लोग को? आई एम सॉरी, अभी तक मेरे ख्याल से आवाज़ आ ही नहीं रही थी। तो दैट वाज अ सुपर्ब गेम। आप लोगों को होप आप लोगों को पसंद आया होगा। एंड ये गेम प्ले एक्चुअली दिखाने का कारण यही है कि जो लोग भी लीग ऑफ लेजेंड्स खेलने के इच्छुक है, जिनको खेलना है लीग ऑफ लेजेंड्स, तो ये गेम प्लेस देख के आपको एक आइडिया आता है कि कैसे खेलते हैं बेसिकली। तो जो हम लोग लाइक श्रीमान और हम लोग जो खेलते हैं, तो वो कैसा वो कस्टम गेम है और उनको उतनी आइडिया नहीं है, उनको इस गेम के बारे में पता नहीं। हालांकि मैंने बहुत बार उनसे कहने की कोशिश की है कि दिस इज़ नॉट द वे यू प्ले, मतलब ऐसे नहीं खेलते ये गेम। ये गेम एक्चुअली बहुत ही दिमाग लगा के खेलने वाला गेम है ये। एंड बहुत स्ट्रैटेजी, जैसे आपने देखा अभी लाइक स्ट्रीम पे आपने देखा कि कैसे इन लोग स्ट्रैटेजी बनाते हैं, पूरा घेर लेते हैं चारों बाजू से और फिर आके अटैक करते हैं। भले एक को ही मारना हो, एक ही बंदे को मारना हो, बट वो एक बंदे को मारने के लिए उन लोग पूरे चारों पांचों बाजू से पूरे घेर लेते हैं, देन उनके ऊपर अटैक करते हैं। तो ये स्ट्रैटेजी होता है। मतलब ये ऐसा नहीं पबजी जैसा या कुछ भी, सामने जाओ बस गन गन निकल के मारना चालू करो। इसके अंदर बहुत ही छुप के स्ट्रैटेजी बना के आपको खेलना होता है। और ये कैसा है गाइस कि ये लाइक इतने सालों की इनकी मेहनत रहती है। ये जो बूट कैम्प हम लोग बोलते हैं, बूट कैम्प आपके दिमाग में जो भरा है, बूट कैम्प, अगर आप इन लोगों का बूट कैम्प देखोगे तो भाई साहब डिसिप्लिन, डिसिप्लिन क्या होता है आप इनसे सीखो। इनके वीडियोस आप जाके देखो, लाइक यूट्यूब के ऊपर इनके बूट कैंप्स के वीडियोस रहते हैं। इतना डिसिप्लिन रहता है, हालांकि दुनिया की दुनिया भर की सारी चीज़ें उनके पास होती है। लाइक वो बोलते हैं ना कि ऐशो आराम हर एक चीज़ होता है, तो वो होने के बावजूद भी कंपलसरी 8 घंटे खेलना, प्रैक्टिस करना, ये उनके लिए मैंडेटरी है। अगर आपको बूट कैंप में रहना है तो ये 8 घंटे उनको प्रैक्टिस करना मैंडेटरी रहता है। ये मुझे क्यों मालूम, क्योंकि जब इनका फाइनल्स था, लाइक आई थिंक अराउंड 2017, या 2017 में जब इनका फाइनल्स था, तो उस वक्त ये फाइनल्स था डेनमार्क में, ओके, कोपेनहेगन। तो आई वाज देयर बेसिकली, मैं उधर था और मैंने वो फाइनल्स देखा है। और तब मेरी मुलाकात फेकर, जो आप अभी देख रहे हैं, फेकर से हुई थी मेरी। तो और मैंने इनके बूट कैंप्स देखे एक्चुअली जाके। तो बूट कैंप में गाइस होटल से लाइक 5 स्टार होटल से भी हटकर रहता है इनका बूट कैंप। और इतना फैसिलिटीज रहते हैं वहाँ पर, कुक रहता है उनके लिए अलग से, और जिम रहता है अंदर, एंड उनके बंकर्स, ब्लैक बेड्स एंड ऑल। और प्रैक्टिस रूम ऐसे नहीं रहते। प्रैक्टिस रूम लोग सब लोग साथ में बैठते हैं, लाइक भाई तेरा अलग रूम और ये इसका अलग रूम, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। ये पांचों के पांचों साथ में इन लोग बैठे रहते हैं, एक साथ बैठे, एक साथ खेलते, एक साथ प्रैक्टिस करते। और इनको पता होता है ये, इसके लिए इनका जो कोऑर्डिनेशन होता है, कोऑर्डिनेशन इसके लिए उनका बोलते हैं ना कि अनपैरेलल्ड है। लाइक अभी आप जो देख रहे हो स्क्रीन पे, लाइक देखोगा इसकी, इनका कम्युनिकेशन कोऑर्डिनेशन इतना स्ट्रांग रहता है कि मतलब कौन किधर कब कहाँ कैसे आने वाला है उनको पता रहता है। ये गेम फुल्ली दिमाग का गेम है, ना कि आर जोड़ आप छूटो और निकलो मारो आमने सामने, ऐसा ऐसा गेम नहीं है ये बेसिकली। तो आई होप इससे आप कुछ सीखे होगे। एंड अभी हम लोग चौथे गेम की तरफ जा रहे हैं। तो ये थोड़ा सा एक फाइनल लाइक डिसिसिव गेम रहेगा। लाइक तो बोलते हैं ना कि इससे आप लाइक डिसीजन होगा कि कौन, अगर इसके अंदर एसके एसके टेलीकॉम अगर जीतती है तो दे आर इनटू फाइनल्स, दैट्स फॉर श्योर। ओके, तो मैं मेरा साउंड अभी बंद कर देता हूँ. I'll go on mute and आप लोगों को डिस्प्ले का साउंड आ जाएगा. एंड प्लीज कमेंट में लिखना मत भूलिए गाइस. डू कमेंट करो, लाइक करो, शेयर करो एंड सब्सक्राइब करो.
And it's fantastic.
And they're showing style here at Worlds too. Faker was like, Knight, I see you on the Akali yesterday. I'm going to do it as well. Like, the magic is really there. We'll see again as we switch back to blue side. But it really has been like difference in play.
It has. I mean, and things like Lehens, right, who we know is very good at macro, who calls a lot of the moves of Gen.G, generally the one to be out of position. A big discussion that we've had here backstage is, for me, there's a difference between ADCs in terms of Guma and Pays, in that I believe in Guma and in that bot lane, even from behind or from even, not just from ahead. And even though Pays has done things to dispel that in summer, right, Emily? Outside of the finals, I don't know. You know, when he's... And here he had an opportunity, right, if they scale further into that game. But then it's him who gets caught out again. And I don't want to put everything on him because the whole team lost that game, right? But it is these differences that you need to look to make.
But I think that's the thing. It's like pressure makes diamonds, right? And unfortunately, when we look at finals in LCK, Pays didn't step up. And then you look at the game against FlyQuest, it feels like, you know, Hanwha kind of found the issues in Gen.G. FlyQuest managed to crack it, and it feels like T1 are finally breaking those foundations here, where you're not getting the big performers. They're not finding Chovy these lane matchups where he can be super successful and take over in the mid to late game. You're not having your carries perform, and now T1 are saying, no, we're going to go to the style that's worked for us. We take over in the early game. We play through our side lanes well. We get these cheeky Baron sneaks when you're least expecting it. It feels like T1 are still playing to their identity on an international stage, whereas Gen.G feel like they've just lost themselves because those doubts have started to sink in.
Yeah, and I want to pull up Gen.G's record over T1 in the LCK and internationals, because I think it makes T1's performance here so much more impressive, right? They are the 4th seed. They are one game against KT away from not making it. And here you see MSI 2023 highlighted. We had already set it up in one of our prior thing, I think it was you, Dagda, that said that, where they got the better of them at an international event at a very crucial moment. And now they're on match point once again, now at Worlds, defending their world title.
It all hangs in the balance again for Chovy, you know. I wrote down under Gen.G in my preparation as a logline, if this team can't win Worlds, who can, right? But I feel like in the course of the tournament, we've seen other teams perhaps adapt better. And I think for me, that's what they're going to have to show. In the same vein, though, I'm not ready to write this one off because we haven't seen a team break the red side situation yet, right? So T1 would have to do it here.
Yeah, I mean, if they can't, then T1 or BLG can, that's for sure.
The adaptations are proactively being taken away by T1. Smolder, gone. The draft is already set up where T1 go, we know what you are like. We know Gen.G inside and out. We know what they're going to fall back to, and they're stopping them every step of the way. T1 are in their heads, and I don't know if Gen.G have a comeback here.
And all year, we've been talking, or I mean, I know I've been talking about Knight versus Chovy, right? Like, we want to see this matchup. We saw it at MSI finally. This was going to be our destined world final, but in the way stands Faker, and this is a rerun of that Chovy quote where he, again, would know this more than anyone because he's had to deal with it domestically. Now he has to really step up, prove himself against Faker to make it to finals.
Chovy has to step up. Gen.G as a whole has to step up, and we have seen it from Gen.G before. Spring this year, Game 4, it was the Kazakhs pick from Canyon that completely changed everything in that series. Gen.G are never counted out until that bell rings, and this is where they have to find that magic once more.
Beautifully said. Let's head over to our casters.
Thank you so much, Dagda. I think that's such a good point because I want to give everyone some faith that we could be going to a Game 5, right? Like, that's the main thing, and we're already straight into draft as the Kalista and the Xayah are still going to be banned away, and I saw that little look on your face there, Chronicler. I'm also not that psyched about it. I want to see a little bit more adaptation. I don't know whether the Xayah is a necessary ban.
And given Guma's performance and how comfortable he is on the champion, it makes sense, but I'm a big believer in when you see a champion just consistently be an issue, and in this case, it's the Ashe. Even in the games where Ash wasn't able to actually get over the line. I feel like the pick has just felt so strong. It gives so much utility while also being a lane bully.
Well, now they can first pick it. Now T1 is saying, hey, by the way, do you want to ban Aurora or do you want to ban Ash? And because Genji is going to take one of them, the Aurora comes through, you imagine the Ash is the first pick. T1 now have the choice around, do they want to grab themselves the Vi? It's proven to be very effective, but also what is their answer into it? Because the truth is, Guma hasn't really shown something like an Ezreal, right? This is not something that he goes to, which we've seen as a typical answer at Worlds. Jhin would be his likely response. Something like the Caitlyn would be his usual. Maybe a Draven could come through. But given the current meta, with all the presence of the lane swaps, I'm not sure how effective they are.
And I was going to say that this is something that we've seen come out sparingly this Worlds. This was Gumayusi's best champion for a long time. His Varus steals Barons, steals hearts. It's incredible. As Ona just playing with ours just a little bit there with the hover of the Kindred. We'll see whether he does go back to that one. As he's hovering over quite a few options, the Skarner could be a great pick away, and he is going to lock that one in.
Is this a, in case of emergency, pick Canyon Nidalee situation again? We saw it come up against FlyQuest.
He's got a smile on his face.
A very slight smile on that man's face, and this was the pick that brought Genji to Silver Scrapes. He single-handedly, and they're just running it back. They were here last week.
Yep, we've got some tape of this one, you know? Let's see what the answer is going to be from T1 though, because of course they know exactly what to expect.
I mean, Canyon's Nidalee. What else is there really to say? I mean, you're 100% right. Jax would be a great pick. It looks like that's going to be the lock-in for T1. Double 80 carry comps. Jax loves those. His E gets so much value out of it. He offers so much zone control. But, I mean, game 4, backs against the wall. The Nidalee comes through. The ban of the Cassante is so crucial for Keen. I think that it's such a safe top lane pick, just in general, but in Keen's hands, it's also a devastating carry threat that you don't want to run the risk of him getting. Now, on the side of Genji, they can look to pinch the mid lane pool a little bit more. Maybe they remove the Ahri for themselves. No, they're actually targeting Carrier. They're really trying to limit the options that this bot lane has.
Yeah, playmaking for Carrier, I think, is a great thing to target, especially when Carrier is coming off a win. Because when he has that mojo, when he's feeling it, it can be very scary to go up against this guy when he has confidence, as Braum is going to be taken away from
really good. And also from Carrier. Actually really like that ban there from T1. What feels most likely here is the R4 on Renata, trying to get a strong 2v2 and play through that. But it does open up a Lance counter pick.
What about a...
That's something that I don't think they necessarily want to go towards. And they're going to save the Carrier counter pick, and this shouldn't come as a surprise. But I do worry about the Ahri, as we have seen it be pretty hit or miss, but it's Faker, so I give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's Ahri. Like, his Ahri has been very good at this World Championship, and I think that it makes it, like, this is a very Genji-esque comp in the side of T1.
It is.
Meanwhile, Genji, the Poppy, I think, offers a decent amount of value here, both into the Ahri and into the Jax.
Playing towards Keen's team fighting as well, I think, is a really good idea in this game, because I think that when Keen is under pressure, that's what he plays towards, not necessarily smashing lane.
They need a Leona or a Rel right now. They need some engage to come through from Genji. I think T1 might be thinking about a Rakan, which is why they saved the pick for later as well, because crucially, the Maokai is often used as a response, but...
Oh, is he cooking?
He's going to lock in the Maokai anyway.
Oh, keeping it a flex.
You're right.
So they don't know what's going to go where, and it also locks out the Rakan pick. The main reason why we see this Maokai is because it is so strong into the Rakan.
Yeah,
and now there's Poppy as well. Yeah.
So actually creates a bit of an awkward scenario. Normally this is where we would go Bard, particularly into the immobile 80 carry of the Ashe.
Yeah.
Once not available.
Is it a pike angle?
Oh, that'd be fun. I don't know whether it is. That would certainly be... Oh, okay, yeah,
it's a pike angle.
It's a pike angle.
It's always a pike angle.
For Carrier it is. Those bone skewers are targeted for this guy. Watching that series blew my mind. Vadius, I'm so glad that you had your finger on the pulse there, because this could be fireworks on the bottom side of the map. Genji, certainly, with some experimentation here right now, it looks like the Maokai is going to be going into the support position, and Keen will be taking the Poppy into the Jax on the top side. In the LCK, this is seen as a really good matchup for the Poppy, and so something that Keen has played around before.
I mean, I think even internationally, we've seen it do wonders into the Jax matchup as well, especially if you're confident on the Poppy. The crucial thing for me is when playing Ashe, you need lane prio. Sorry, Ashe. When you're playing with Nidalee, you need that lane prio. We've seen Canyon succeed so well at playing around the strength and push of his lanes to put pressure on the enemy jungle. And like, it is the way in which old school Damwon thrived. The laners play for Canyon. I mean, me and Quickshot back in the day used to have a thing called Ring the Beryl, where Beryl would cover for lanes to help them push out waves so the Canyon could keep farming, right? This is a champion synonymous with this jungler, and it's so crucial that his laners give him the prio to play the champion to perfection and allow him to thrive in the ways that he so often does.
And we're all hoping it goes to game number 5,
100%.
but if this doesn't work for Gen G, then I don't know what would have, right? I know that Tristana not in the spot that she was before, but you somehow get both Tristana and Maokai, which was a combo that was basically never be allowed to play, while also getting Canyon Italy.
That is definitely an incredible thing. However, this is T1 at Worlds, and T1 with match point. Moving into this game number 4, a date with BLG next week in London is what's on the line, and there is only one step left to take.
And they are double Halo Bladesing.
God, of course they are.
Remember from spring 2023, when you see those keystones, the enemy bot lane is about to have a bad time.
Something's going down. Something is definitely going down.
To fight. It's just unbelievable that T1's even in this position. I feel like that so many fans that only watch internationally think this is just another year for T1.
Yeah,
like last year, reigning world champions here in the semifinals at match point. Of course, why wouldn't they be here? They were also top 3 at MSI.
Well, the thing that's ridiculous as well is that last year, if you look at summer, it ain't a great time for T1 either. So maybe fans are just like, oh yeah, we're used to this.
Yeah.
You just have a little bit of a lull before you come back up again. It's like the swell of the ocean.
Spot him with the sweeper. I think they spotted each other.
Information now going over as Bonus is going to pull pace in. He has to flash, and T1 outplay them.
The invaders come through from Gen G though. Canyon going to be able to steal away this buff. We'll see how Ona responds as we get standard matchups. Now this bot lane I feel is very volatile. Ashe lanes typically give you a lot of control and prio, but Varus is a lane bully in his own right. His E gives him a lot of control over the lane in the similar way that the volley does to the Ashe. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Chovy leveraging his pro. We talked about how important that is for the Nidalee. As the blue is taken away, Canyon returns to his side of the jungle.
I think we're going to need to see another Chovying performance, much like we saw in Game 5 against FlyQuest on his Smolder. We're going to need to see absolute domination, stay ahead of the curve, make sure that these items come in at exactly the right times. All right, Carrier finding the Bone Skewer onto the hands. That's another flash. They'll take that, and this is a T1 bottom lane that, yes, we've always known that they're capable of. We haven't really seen this level of aggression for a long time.
Paze even went for Halo Blades himself just to try and be able to trade a little bit better, stack up that passive early. The main thing for Gen G is that the bottom lane is still alive and relatively healthy. We also have Owner on the opposite side of the map, and Canyon is starting, or should be able to build a lead once the actual full care comes through, because he got that early buff on Owner's in Owner's jungle.
Ona, I think, actually expected his Grom to also be taken. He took the Wolves, then path back up towards the top side, which is the most frustrating thing for T1, because you look at that bot lane matchup and we're like, Ona, dive now, please dive. But because of his pathing, it's hard for him to actually be in a position to really set that up. He's setting his sights on mid after Faker got a really nice trade onto Chovy.
Yeah, Ona now driving in, looking for Chovy, just gets the flash. I think the rocket jump must have been on cooldown, and Ona is just going to take that explosive charge and be absolutely fine. Meanwhile, setting up for a potential dive is another max range Bone Skewer going to connect from Carrier. This guy, it's targeted, right?
That's now 3 flashes down, and for a pick as volatile as Pyke, that is a playground. You have so many lanes to play through. Owner, will Canyon hold off? They are going to know with the saplings. Canyon, I think, is going to try and play through the fog, not try and show himself.
Yeah, Carrier moving on over. Was hit by one of the traps there, so information was given as to his whereabouts, and they will just back away.
If that back completes, that bot lane is not surviving.
So momentum-wise, you feel like everything's going the way of T1. The bot lane 2 versus 2 is winning out on the skirmishes. They got both the flashes. In the mid lane, Faker out-trading Chovy. I mean, not resulting in a huge CS lead, but still going well overall. What's crucial to remember is that Canyon is continuing to farm. Canyon's Nidalee is not terrifying within the first 4 minutes of the game, but for every minute that goes by, this champion will continue to get stronger. Keen in the top lane matchup continues to do well. It's a tough matchup for the Jacks as well. And so Gen.G definitely don't have to be too terrified, even though the bot isn't going the way that they would like.
I'm also wondering if Canyon thought that Owner took his blue, because his blue has actually been up since the start of the game, because they they read the early play because Carriac caught Pays, right? So I assume Canyon made the read. I figured when he went to his Gromp, he would have seen it, but Keen.
Oh yeah, there's another Bone Skewer being charged up. First one that he's going to miss outright. And Keen will survive.
Ice cold.
Yeah, I like that. Just continuing to walk. It's the continue to walk strategy, one that we haven't seen for quite a while. No jukes abound.
And Chronicle has been talking about this, the impact of the supports, right? We saw it from Carrier game 1, game 2. We saw Lehens very active on the map. Game 3, I think both supports were trying to make plays around the map, but with Carrier kind of just finding those advantages because T1 was finding advantages. But now Carrier's on a champion that has so much agency, but his AD carry is low.
Oh yeah, Gumayusi in a lot of trouble. Does have to use that cleanse. Okay, he's going to take some damage back though, yeah, that's a decent trade.
Remember
Still,
they did
summon a spell advantage.
He did do that thing last year.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
Outplayed.
I was about to say they did buff the lethality virus a little bit more, and as you rightly said, this man has a bit of a history on this champion.
I'm actually surprised it hasn't come out more this Worlds, to be perfectly honest. I think it's in a decent position, especially in the hands of players like Gumayusi, who are so incredibly good at it.
We talked about it on the way here, didn't we, Atlas?
Yeah.
Where, like, the mobility and how, like, in the meta it feels it can be difficult to play, but in a position like this...
Yeah, Faker looking for Canyon, trying to find that opportunity, scaring him with where this charm might go. Point blank, the charge, the stun, but the knockback with the buster shot is not enough, and first blood goes to Faker's Ahri, and it's Faker's Ahri. That's the biggest thing here, because Ahri has been such a curse for so many teams. We actually have the stats here for both Faker and Chovy, and it is a different story when it's the unkillable Demon King that has it, as another charm is going to get Gumayusi executes. Lehens, they do try and even out the fight as Faker is evicted, but T1 is still standing their ground. A great start for the defending world champions as Gen.G do manage to get back some control of this grub pit, and I believe for the very first time we're going to trade a couple of grubs instead of just taking 3.
That's such a hefty prize though. Lehens gets blown up, but it's the kill on Canyon in particular that is the biggest thing here. Early on, getting taken out. Faker further accelerated than Chovy on a nerf Tristana, not able to find the impact as this couldn't be a better time for this graphic to come up.
No, exactly right. Here with match point in hand, Faker on a champion that he's been synonymous with for a very long time. There's quite a few of those, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Ariana, Azir, Rise, like
but
there's
this one
plenty.
has a special
Zed is a pretty good one. This one does have a special skin. LeBlanc also has a special skin, and the win rates for both his LeBlanc and his Ahri are about equally ridiculous.
So World Skin aren't special anymore?
Yeah. I mean, they're all special. I was just saying that there's a lot of special.
Extra special, okay?
When everything's special, you have to sort of redefine where it lies, you know?
Now Gen.G have a stacked wave on the top side. T1 have read the play effectively. Faker's on the rotation. Carrier.
Yeah, can he charge it? He does find a knockback onto Pays. There's a crash into the wall as well. Lehens just caught out and explodes. Owner's going to grab kill credit for that one, and T1 seem to do no wrong.
It's an aftershock that ends up picking up the kill as Zeus is pushing on the bottom side of the map. 3 kills for T1. And we talked about the momentum earlier, but it feels like that this train just continues to ride in the way of T1's victory.
And Lehens, that was a journey he did not want to take. Trying to punish Carrier, but we have seen this, I think, with a lot of the Jungle Maokais. You learn the lesson pretty quickly. If the enemy champion has a dash, do not just W in. He did it there, gets very, very heavily punished, and now we already have a 1.5K gold lead here for T1, only 8.5 minutes in.
You wouldn't think, watching this series, that Gen.G have been the father of T1 for so long in their domestic history, because Worlds T1 is just a different beast. They are the only team in the world where the plot line truly seems to be unbreakable.
Yeah, the script really just seems like, as much as you talk about it, it still seems infallible. As, all right, looking for a bit of an opportunity towards Gumayusi, but he does the walk strat, moves away. Carrier will be able to move back up again, trying to dodge vision as he does get back up there, but is going to be spotted on the edge of that ward. So full information does go on over. So moving into a state of slightly less action as we look towards maybe a dragon take. Of course, that hasn't been looked at just yet. Still 10 minutes into the game, would be a relatively late one.
And one thing to do, keep in mind, is that this game still feels less explosive than the previous Pyke game we saw. And T1 did have some issues closing that one out.
They
Pyke,
did.
As good as Pyke is, and for as long as we've seen Carrier play this is type of the game state that you want, and I think we need to see more objectives, right? Like, I think the gold alone is nice, but I want to see dragons being taken early, and I want to see that Rift Herald take down that mid lane, because the moment that control of the map is ceded and vision starts to drop, that's when the Pyke feels unpunishable.
And I also think that this whole series has been about who can play the game plan that they wanted to play coming out of the draft. And I don't think that either team has been denied just yet. In the shellackings that we had games 2 and 3, it's because Gen G and T1 both enabled their win conditions so incredibly well. This time around, we haven't quite seen that happen just yet. Still an opportunity for Gen G to try and turn the tides of this one with moving Chovy into side lanes, obliterating these turrets and creating leads that way.
The only problem for Gen G right now is they're not in a great position for grubs. They have just secured the dragon, which is a nice pickup for sure. However, on the top side of the map is T1's bot lane. Zeus does have the TP available. I'm pretty sure he has it available at the very least in a few seconds. So this is going to be a difficult objective to contest, meaning that 4 grubs will go in the favor of T1.
Don't let it go. No possible contest, and a Nidalee composition that isn't able to snowball early objectives.
And a Tristana composition that doesn't get a decent amount of grubs.
Yep, quite rough, and there is vision. Gen G obviously knew that this was happening.
Oh, Carrier looking for a bone skewer on his on Keen there towards the top side.
Canyon pathing back towards top, ready for a potential dive. Knows that Keen needs to catch this wave, and he's working with Chovy to clear out some vision. Nice spear connects. We're going to be saying that a lot this game, I feel.
Yep.
We'll see how impactful those spears end up being, though, as now these neutral objectives fall away from the Rift. We turn back to a neutral game state, and these teams turn their attention towards the remaining plates. 2.5 minutes remaining until those fall off completely, and you're going to be seeing teams cross-map. Look to try and secure as many of these as possible to funnel that early gold injection to get ready for those first items. As you can see, Malignance and Heartsteel already completed for Faker and Ona.
And it's so interesting thinking about where team fights are going to go later on in the game, because I feel like anytime a Poppy exists, any team fight can go towards the Poppy team if that ultimate is going to be used effectively, especially when it's, you know, say Ona gets an amazing ultimate and then gets just Poppy ulted away, and then, you know, if it's a 3-man ulti, he just dies. That could be kind of funny. Certainly some interactions that could work out there, but it really does change the tide of how this game is going to work.
There's also a lot of champions on T1 that rely on their mobility to make plays in fights, right? Pyke is the most obvious one, but even for Ahri, it's the case is, I don't know if they really have an angle. They don't have any vision, so they don't want to risk it. 2v2 could not go their way, but the fact that the Maokai, even with Lahens having a really rough performance so far, in team fights, in theory, should be able to do something like, look at the game state, look at the map state. Carrier is everywhere. Paze just keeps having to drop waves. Owner's looking for a possible punish now, and reinforcement on the way. I don't know if they're in time.
Flash has to come out because those Chains of Corruptions would have just killed Paze, especially with a Scorpion making his way in. Lahens a little bit late to defend the summoner spell of his lane partner. Still, just plates going over for T1. As, man, that bone skewer very, very close to lopping down the tree. That's what you do, right? You lop down trees?
Yeah, it's correct, actually. That's the perfect terminology.
Sure.
Herald, going to be the next objective that lobbing will be commencing. We'll see who gets that objective, as right now the T1 members are resetting. Vision needs to be replenished, gold needs to be spent. Gen G going to push out these waves. We'll give them initial access to the topside river, but it means that they haven't had that opportunity to base, spend some gold, and look at those items between the 280 carries. No Blade of the Ruin King completed yet for Paze, or even Static Shiv, rather, I should say. And we'll see what direction he goes as...
Yeah, and getting Gumayusi onto that single item before Paze gets there as well. We know what this guy can do with his Varus. He is just exceptionally strong. on this pick as Carrier continuing to be annoying. And like you were saying, this guy is pretty good on Varus, as we can see.
He's somewhat familiar, yes.
Yeah, somewhat.
This feels like a Hail Mary here for Gen G. If they lose
can't
this
start a
fight,
Baron, though, because Gumayushi's on Varus, like we were talking about. You can't do that. We're talking about plot armor. I mean, that's to bridge too far, as now Owner is just trying to bully them out of the area.
Faker's actually gone back to base. He does have the TP available. He's going to commit it now to the top tower.
Might even be able to grab an outer before he makes that flank happen.
This is it.
She'll be able to lock it in as Keen gets in there before the arrow does come down. Slightly mistimed, but yeah, Keen was already softened up. And you can see Zeus makes his way into the mid lane. They are taking control of the lanes as Gen G are committing onto this Rift Herald. Chains of Corruption going to connect onto Lehens. He's throwing down the ulti, but he's just dead. There's nothing he can do, but Keen gets rid of two, and now Faker, he's able to dance his way out. Carrier, he's burning, but he should be absolutely fine. Regens that health because he's out of vision, and Chovy still in a little bit of trouble. Zay's going to take a mid lane out of turret at the same time. They take the Rift Herald, but at what cost?
Way too much cost. They give up 2 turrets. A kill goes over again. And the Herald alone is never going to be able to recuperate all that loss.
It's a devastating position for Gen G to be in. The lane economy snapshot represents the difference in gold right now.
I would say there's an economic advantage for T1.
That there is. And T1, they do sacrifice the Herald. It was an awkward position for them to really get in because of the Maokai ultimate. But they secured the top tower, they secured the mid tower. Honestly, T1 was a little greedy even trying to contest that because they committed both top and mid to securing those outer towers. They got level 11, and then I thought they were trying to collapse. But of course, getting a pick is still worth it after securing those objectives. Second dragon of the game will go towards T1, equalizing that up. But the goal difference is the most crucial thing.
Oh God, another one! We got the big souls in this series, and also this means that we've got Hex Gates, so teams can fight a whole lot more than they otherwise would. Also gives you a little bit of leeway in your movement around the map as well. Can certainly feel good to try and snowball things further forward.
I also have to apologize, my AD carry animation, Kraken Slayer, secured for Pays. Gonna be the first item, a valuable first item, of course, the additional attack speed, but it still doesn't solve the problem of into this Jax. We've already seen how AD carries fare when playing into this in game 2, when T1 tried to hand the double AD carry into the Jax. But the presence that Zeus is going to be providing in these fights is going to make it very difficult for Chovy and Pays to play optimally.
Oh man, T1 going to be able to clean up the last remaining outer turret here as well. Faker going to claim credit for that one on his Ari, now looking for a back angle. Is he going... Interesting itemization here, a little bit of a stretch away from what we have seen otherwise as the Lichbane does come through. This is something that used to be in vogue a lot, but I think a lot of players have moved away from it towards the Liandry's instead, but Faker has really liked Lichbane for a little bit of extra side lane power.
And I know we've mentioned it a lot as a hold that thought lands might be in trouble again, but looks like he's going to be okay. Although Guma...
Oh, manages to catch him on the juke, and he explodes one more! Owner's like, all right, let's just turn away. We are not required.
Lehens, 0-7 in the last game, 0-4 in this one. Just not able to be where he needs to be, but I want to hone in on T1's performance, because this team was, and if you experienced it, you'll know, but the team that played against KT could not be further away. And I know they do it every year, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is such a transformation, because it wasn't just the meta, right? It was also the cohesion of the members, the confidence.
I mean, remember that in a world where there is no 4th seed, T1 isn't here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just Dom1 takes their spot, or D plus Kia, my apologies. Yep. But the addition of that 4th seed, allowing T1 to be here, for them to be in this position. In the past, they were denied that when they did have those slumps. They didn't make it to the World Championship, but they are an organization. And that man in the mid lane is a player that has never missed a semi-final.
And also, if they manage to win here this year, it's 2 4th seeds from the LCK winning in the last 3 years. That's kind of insane. That's even a thing we can talk about.
You guys need to stop.
We are getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We are definitely getting ahead of ourselves. T1 fans are definitely getting nervous. I apologize. I know I'm like not even allowed to tweet about this team anymore, if you know that.
But the
as
point
soon as I say
is,
anything positive, they lose.
the reality is that the position that they're even in is already in and of itself ridiculous considering the path that they took to get here. Which is why their performance right now should be reveled given how well they've been able to level up. Now, as you rightly said, 5-0 is the score, the lead that they have. 5K is the gold lead. Baron spawns in 50 seconds. Dragon in a minute 50. Gen.G still have elements. They still have tools to turn the game around. It all comes down to whether or not they can punish T1 for their mistakes and if they can find a good angle to turn these fights in their favor.
And Gen.G have been pushed many times this year. TES brought them to 5 games at MSI after a 2-0 lead. They were able to persevere.
Oh, Faker looking for the charm, doesn't get it. On to Canyon there, but gets the true damage on that Orbit Deception. As Lahan's allowed to drive once again. I don't know about it as he gets pulled back immediately, but he's able to absorb a lot of it still. The answering impale is so good. The arrow is going to connect onto the backline, onto Carrier to deny him bone skewering anyone forward. And Gen.G, I mean, it was dangerous, but they get out of there after the charge, just not earning that much.
A very tense back and forth as T1 is able to protect their mid-tier 1. Gen.G, the idea was pretty promising there. The Ash Arrow didn't actually connect onto the Skarner. If it had slightly further away from the tower, that could have been an opportunity for Gen.G at the very least to get a pick. But it connects onto Carrier on the back line, which they really couldn't follow up on. Ultimately, though, no one ends up dropping. Gen.G have good setup for this top tower, but the TP is committed. Can they dive?
We'll see. It's going to be a fair bit of damage onto this one. Spear is going to be coming out perfectly. There's the twisted advance. The charm goes wide. Faker's dead. That is going to be Canyon taking him down, but it's now Zeus trying to be the hero. He catches Canyon with the counter-strike stun, and he's under the wrong turret. Lahan's going to go down for the 5th time, and it's a double for the other solo laner. They may have gone Faker, but this is what he does. He baits them into death, and it's Baron started for T1.
Every T1 fan has seen this one before. You think you catch Faker in the side lane, and Gen.G, they know they can't contest this Baron. They're just TPing to mid to try and get something in return.
Gen.G just wanted the tower. Faker TP's in. They sit there and say to themselves, this should be an easy pick. His ulti wasn't off cooldown, but the collapse was crucial. Gen.G, I don't think you can do this Dragon. They're going to start it, but the collapse is coming through. Faker's back out onto the map. Zeus as well.
All right. Gen.G do manage to make their way back out. As Keen also trying to get back. But man, this is only the start of the devastation. We've got 2.5 minutes of T1 with Baron. They're going to start by trying to take down this Dragon. With the resets coming through from Gen.G, there's not going to be an opportunity. Gumayusi coming on over will start to make short work of it. 2 items for this Lethality Varus. T1 really just have Gen.G exactly where they want them. This is such a change from what we saw in this exact matchup in spring of this year, but that was a very different Gen.G. That was a Gen.G that looked impossible to take down. They took 2 games then. They're looking to only miss 1 in this series if things continue going the way they're going. Gen.G with opportunities to try and create miracles, but it's looking like they're going to need exactly that. They want to make their way back into this one. Only a 4,000 gold lead. Still looking pretty rough.
I mean, worlds aside, the fact that T1 is even getting revenge for a rivalry that has been so Gen.G favored domestically in and of itself is impressive. As we look back at the dive, the idea, I mean, it makes so much sense from Gen.G. Dive onto Faker. He's an easy pick. Even if the TP comes through, we can turn it. But they don't expect Ona to collapse this quickly as well. A beautiful flash from Zeus to get that stun for Canyon. He leaves the tower to finish off the kill, and they convert it onto Lahan's as well.
Canyon actually, I think, got aggro because of the Leandries. So because he hit the perfect spear to set up the initial damage, because there was a wave, not a big one, but would have been enough, but as a result takes so much damage. Baron still here for another minute. Gen.G just desperately clinging on to their world's dreams.
Steadfast presence now on cooldown for a little while as T1 look to set up a 5-man siege on this inner turret. At 23 minutes, sieging is quite difficult unless the Bone Skewer comes through. The arrow is denied by the ulti from Keen, but now with only 2 stragglers here, Zeus will explode. It's Canyon that locks up the kill as Keen dives in once again. Pei's able to take down Carrier, but it's Gumayusi standing tall and taking down Keen. Still a positive trade for Gen G is still huge news.
Keen actually diving in there, denied the ultimate from Keria. Otherwise, Keria maybe could have gotten the resets. But because Keen jumped to his death, no resets for Keria. He ends up getting focus going down. And it's not enough, but think back to that previous game where Gen G held on tenuous for so long.
T1 have shown tendencies at this World Championship to overforce. They throw the ultimate out, a beautiful response from Keen to create a numbers advantage. They have the confidence then to turn it back as they get a kill onto Zeus. And you'll see here this play, nicely done from Keen to avoid the resets from Keria. He knows how dangerous that could have been. And sighs of relief as Gen G stay fighting here in Game 4.
And Helper's not even there. I think that guy is just completely overly stressed at this point in time. I'm sure he'll be back as this game does go on, but there was a little bit of a grin on Marta's face. Coach Kim as well, not looking all doom and gloom. They are still in this. We'll see. T1, Baron has worn off 2.5 minutes until that one's back up once again. Still a 4,000 gold lead, 5,000, something like that. Not end of the world, but 2 items now onto Chovy. 2.5 on Pays. 1-0-1 now, actually picking up a lot of that money in the last fight. Could be huge here for Gen G.
Death kept done here for Faker.
He's pretty strong.
He is very strong. I would argue also just now the transformation for Guma. So T1 do have an opportunity. The one Drake, not as good of a cushion as last time, but still is going to be a big difference maker for Gen G. Means that they probably should be able to get it to 3 items on their double 80 carries. The issues don't stop there though, because Zeus on this Jax in a wonderful position is building towards that stopwatch as well, allowing him to play very far into the back line.
The problem I see for Gen G is this poke is a problem. And Keen, I think he's going to be fine.
Extremely tanky.
Yeah, but the poke is a problem, and not only is it a problem, like, they don't have the best engaged tools. T1 have a lot of ways to just run away from a fight. Oda. What? Now, I don't think T1 need to be forcing this hard. Like, Dragon spawns in a minute's time, so does Baron. Ola committing his flash there, I think, is a bit of a fumble, because now he doesn't have the potential play set up with his ulti later. And, like, this is a tendency we see with T1 sometimes when they have a big lead. They sometimes overforce. They did the same thing against Top Esports. They ended up still winning because, again, the gold lead is theirs. But they need to calm down because, as you both have already highlighted, Gen G are a patient team. They will happily weather the storm.
I want to go back to the last game as well, though, because T1 were playing very patiently, very slowly, only taking the guaranteed advantages from around the map. This feels a little bit different. Might have something to do with that Pike being that good sidestep, but the charm is going to land here from Faker. That one chunks Keen. That's those 3 items that you guys were talking about. Faker also starting to get some Death Note stacks put together.
One of the few tools that Gen G do have is actually Canyon's heal. Every single heal has a base heal of 240 going up to about 500. If you are chunked, that alone is not going to be enough, but it might be the mitigation that Gen G need to at least try and contest. And it looks like they are not giving over Soul Point for free.
Well, Keria is going to walk into Lehens here. Pike so incredibly squishy. There's the teleport from Keen. The front line will arrive. Chains of Corruption do go wide. As now Lehens, he's chunked out just a little bit, but he's going to throw his life away for a good position in a team fight. Keria on a flank angle. It is going to be Ona taking Soul Point, but can they win the fight? That's a phenomenal ultimate from Keen, and Pays is untouched. Still Keria explodes, pops like a balloon. Zeus has the counter-strike, but he has no friends. Faker dives in to try and save him. The flash on the Gumi, and it's a double kill. Pays now standing his ground. Gumiuchi can't do anything, and Gen G will ace them with Baron up and available.
Unbelievably, Gen G turned the fight in their favor. They punished the execution. Baron is alive, and Gen G say, we will not go down without a fight. You might kill Lehens 5 times without getting punished, but that 6th one, he's got you right where he wants you, as the Baron is going to come through.
Oh man, and look, he may not have got the dragon or anything like that, but Canyon on this Nidalee, it always this just seems to be something that can work out even when it's not supposed to. Late game Nidalee is not supposed to be a thing, but man, Keen coming in as such a hero.
The ultimate from the Maokai was huge. They're coming in from all angles, but Ona dying first. The target selection is great. They're all in the Dragon Pit. They then turn their attention to Zeus. A reset doesn't come through. Faker, he's only got, well, he does get 2 charges off. He tries to collapse on a Chovy to get the reset, but then a nice flash away from Chovy. It was simply a matter of Gen G targeting the person in front of them. And with the double AD carries in a front-to-back composition, Gumayusi just doesn't have the consistent damage.
Well, Arrow gonna go wide as once again, Gen G are looking for Faker.
Not again.
And yeah, they're just like, no. Look at that.
Canyon.
We remember what happened. Yeah, how, like, what?
It's the most damage in the fight!
It is absolutely nutty. Maybe when he puts on Primal Surge, he gets credit for all of the extra attack speed that he gives his
I mean, I wish that we could watch that fight again, because I feel like there were so many things that we missed. But all that matters right now is that Canyon's level 16.
That's a 3-item Nidalee, ladies and gentlemen.
And now it's Gen G that can begin their offense. The poke from them. We talked about Gumayusi's poke. Well, now it's Canyon's turn to get a bit of revenge.
And Vedi, in the previous game, you told about the waters, you know, the feeling of, oh, what if? Because
maybe it was just a game delayed.
Maybe.
You were right, just a little bit early. Gen G haven't done it yet, though, because all this has done is equalize the game, right, Cole?
Oh, my God.
But look at that jump upwards. And the double AD carry now have hit their spikes.
All right, Boneskew are going to connect, but the spear does too. That is a decent impale, only onto one there as Lahan's able to eat some turret shots, and he'll be okay. Man, that Primal Surge almost gave him his whole health bar back. And the siege will continue here as Chovy getting more and more stacks into that passive as well. Level 16, and the spears are hitting one after the other. Faker, he wants out. He's going to kill that siege minion, and they will back away. Carrier, yeah, not wanting to stick around when he is seen on vision.
The charm from Faker didn't actually connect, even though Ono was able to land the ultimate. The top tower is now exposed as they turn their attention to mid to try and defend. T1's base is beginning to fall apart. They still have some towers remaining. But as you rightly said, Chronicle, return to an even state, and the Dragon Soul is on the horizon.
Big thing here for T1, they didn't lose any inhibitors. So this brought Gen G back in the game, but T1 still will get the opportunity to get a straight-up 5v5 for this Dragon. And they can even afford to give it up. I don't think they will, given how this series has played out. A minute and a half until it's available. As an elixir of iron, thank you for pointing it out, Vedi. For Keen, just trying to be as beefy as he can be.
Look at how tanky he is, though. Like, it's crazy. The Sundered Sky, this front line is exactly what they need. I was worried about Gen G's ability to engage, but around these neutral objectives, they're still able to find the fight. And what looked like a devastating collapse from T1, Gen G handled it so beautifully. Summoners are coming up. Maybe T1 can find an angle before that flash is back up for Chovy and Pace, but I don't expect it. It's Gen G with control around the Dragon.
The amount of homework that they're doing as well, you can see this vision shut out. Yep, lights go off. And there is an Umbral Glaive here for Carrier. They have ways to cheat vision in this game, but he's on Pike. You can't face check anything without just popping.
Yeah, particularly into both Maokai and Poppy. Another thing is that T1 doesn't actually have great hard engage. They have really good pick, which is why the game felt so one-sided. But outside of Owner going in, or like Guma, you know, going in with an ultimate, Faker hitting a charm, that is a lot more telegraphed, or it puts you in a position of danger. And engaging onto Gen G is also a nightmare. Tristana is notoriously hard to collapse on. There's a Poppy and Maokai combo in the game. And there's a lot
It's fascinating how quickly the dynamic shifted, right?
It's just, it's ridiculous.
But they don't need to go for this, is what I'm saying. T1 can bide their time. I just don't think they will.
Yeah, Nature's Grasp going to cut out the arrow, connecting on Owner. Chains of Corruption just try and buy some space with the flash. Onto Faker, the knock-up, and he's dead. Pieces arrows follow him into the death chamber as the impale is decent. Owner's still alive, he's so tanky, and it's Gumayusi taking matters into his own hands. The spears go wide and the popping goes down. It's a double kill for the Skarner, and Chovy's still alive. There's a bit of damage, but he gets over the wall, flashes, but the Bone Skewer finds him. The shutdown for Goomer and T1. They want to go to London.
And Gen G trying to get the fight, but the death timers are too long.
Oh, it's only Canyon versus the world here as T1 are taking down their first inhibitor of the game. They are not done yet. Nexus turrets stand between them and another final. He goes golden. He's holding onto the wave. He wants to take it down. He does. other one is conga lining in. Lehens, he knows he just has to move it away from these Nexus turrets. And he is able to stall it out. Another teleport. Faker does come back. And they'll now get their time. It is Guma that's able to melt these turrets. And Gen.G for the last 2 years have been the kings of Korea. But we know the world is T1's home ground.
What an incredible final game!
That was an excellent game, guys. Excellent game.
Gen.G's final fight.
SKT1 has won the semi-finals and they are going to London
He was the first
for the finals.
fall, but then the rest of T1 rose to the occasion and turned
Superb
the fight
gameplay.
around.
What a comeback.
Once again, T1 will return to the World Championship final.
And I was getting flashbacks, gentlemen. I thought that maybe
That was
Gen.G were on that path to a Game 5.
Awesome
It
gameplay.
did not happen. T1 just said, no, you will not do it again. It is our date with Destiny. You guys, what did you think? T1 back at the World Final again.
Whoa!
This team is absolutely
SKT1
unbelievable.
in the finals.
I cannot believe they make it back. Well, they're making me believe, Jesus,
Ultimate.
that they're making it back
Chalu
to
hai.
the final after coming into this World Championship as not the team we were looking at just like last year. It is an absolute enigma.
It was absolutely insane. And even then, when Faker was getting caught, I was like, this is 2017. It was Samsung who caught him in that same position on the Karma. But instead, it's a different form of T1 with different members that rally around Faker this time and pull it through to the end. The reigning world champion will return to defend their title versus BLG.
So that was Gen.G had a nice comeback.
Exit later, but
Guys, but,
I do want to first take a look at something that was
SKT1
crucial. He's on
superb.
screen right now. Keria on the pike in our HyperX Reflex replay, because you were talking about you need a difference maker in a moment like this, and how many times has Keria been that?
And that's the thing, you thought it might have been Canyon on the Nidalee, but it was this hype pick, constantly catching out Gen.G, playing spectacularly in the early stages, roaming around every year. And I'm shocked he had this performance, because I looked at that man as he stood up from his seat, shaking, shivering. I thought it was Worlds 2022 with the way he was shaking. Like, that man put on a hell of a performance here today.
Whoa.
Yeah, as we see a little nice little highlight reel of Keria in this game, he now is second in international
As you can
performance
imagine
assists.
the
He
level
just
of
surpassed Xiaohu.
concentration.
And
That focus
the
and
amount
look.
of relief that you saw
look at him.
Superb,
on
superb
his
gameplay.
face. Look at, he's so, like, it's such an emotional moment for these guys. They've been through so much this year. The pressure of defending their title.
Bring it on!
Yeah.
Pin, I see you!
Guma egging on the crowd. You could just see the entire coaching staff coming out, all of the emotion behind them as well. It makes it so much sweeter
This is
to
the god
overcome
of
the
League of
adversity
Legends,
they
Faker.
faced this summer. Again, like, to have them be able to be one of the few teams go back to back, it's them, it's only them that have been able to do this, T1 the org, back to back to defend a world championship title.
But think about how many doubts have had to be on them throughout this year.
Reckless world champion.
It's a path.
Think about it, you come into summer, you barely scrape in.
Yep.
You go to 5 games against KT. You then, you get knocked out by Hanwha in playoffs. You don't even make it to finals. Everyone is thinking this is the year T1 fumble. And we've got to look at a team like Gen.G to step up and take the mantle. A team like Hanwha, who were coming fresh off the heels of a first place in the LCK. But no matter what, it feels like once you get to internationals, it is T1 who will always represent the LCK and always be.
Alright guys, so that's it for today. आज के लिए इतना ही काफ़ी है and next I'll be doing a watch party for the finals which is going to take place in London. तो हम लोग उस दिन भी हम लोग लाइव करेंगे. Hopefully आप लोग enjoy कर पाओगे and you all will learn something. आप लोग इसमें से कुछ सीखोगे. So take care. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Yeah, let's go. I ain't the first with the curse, with the thirst that I wanna be better, not worse, man it hurts. I'm on this earth with my words and I put them all together, insert, cause I wanna have worth. Working hella hard till they put me in the dirt. Gonna go far, man, listen to my words. Gonna be a star, man, life's like a blur. When you're working this hard, till you get what you deserve. Yeah, I ain't taking a backseat, I'm passing anybody else who is rapping. I'm nasty, ain't nobody able to catch me. They gasping, they cannot compare, they can't match me. I'm at half speed, I got your girl and she laughing and dancing, hanging on my butt, she asking to crash with me, smash with me. She savage, she wants cash money and she knows that I live lavishly. I wanna live, I'm cold inside, give all I have just to feel